Craig Bohl. Craig, I know you're in meetings, so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to join us. How are you?
I'm very good, guys.
All right, Craig. It's been just about 3 weeks since the season ended. Have you had a chance to relax, or are you staying busy?
No, you know what? One of these jobs, when you're rebuilding a program, there's always things to be doing, but there's greatness here. We've hit the recruiting trail hard. We've met with some of our current players. And so things are very positive, but they're very busy.
That recruiting process is such a year-round process. I know you can't get into specifics necessarily, but how is that going, and how much time have you and your staff spent on the road?
Well, we spent a significant amount of time, and it started way last year, right after signing date. We started to cull through our areas as far as top juniors, and that went into spring recruiting, and that went into summer. We spent a great deal of time during in-season recruiting, canvassing not only our immediate area but around the country. And what we've done, we've come back to a really, really solid pool of talent. We've garnered a pretty significant number of verbal commitments. We believe those will hold. That comes into play on signing date. And there's a lot of other tendered offers that we have out there, and we'll see how those guys fall. We've been receiving some positive encouragement. So we're well pleased with where we're at.
What are the characteristics of a Craig Bohl recruit? What does a young man have to make it on your squad?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. What we did when we got here, we looked and we defined what we felt like was called the Wyoming profile. And that's not only fitting our coaching staff, but we talked to a lot of people when Wyoming was great, whether it was during Coach Roach's period or Coach Tiller. And I had even had reflections and conversations when they were playing in the Sugar Bowl when Gene Huey was here. And so certain things have changed, but other things haven't. And we came up with what's called the Wyoming profile. And the young man that we're looking for is one who wants to get a meaningful degree from a great institution and then win the Mountain Conference Championship, and that's it. He's got to have a laser-like focus to be great at those things and really to do the things you need to do. The guy that's interested in going to the beach and all kinds of other extracurricular activities, vibrant social life, and the, quote, college scene, that's not our guy. And we've identified a good number of men that fit that profile. Now, certainly athleticism comes into play. The thing that I found, that we found this year being in the Mountain West Conference, is this league is built around speed and acceleration and perimeter, and so we've got to upgrade our talent. When you're looking at an academic profile and athletic profile, that's the guy we're looking for.
Coach, now that you can kind of look back at the season, you've had some time to digest how it went, what are your general thoughts on 2014 and the biggest positives and negatives from this season?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what, I want to say thanks to the seniors that were part of this class. Now, a lot of them didn't finish it for a number of reasons, but the guys who did, they didn't choose us, we chose them. And, we got off to, I thought, was a really good start. And then a combination of some injuries, and I didn't think we progressed the way we should. I don't think we finished as strong as what we needed to. We established our offensive system. We established our defensive system in a kicking game, and there were some bright spots. Certainly, I think the running back position holds great promise here. We're really well pleased with that. And some of our defensive front guys like Eddie Yarborough, Usos did a great job. And Lucas Walken did some good job. And then we had some bright spots as freshmen. Robert Priester started at corner for us, Ryan Cummings, and then, of course, a lot of people know about Brian Hill and the performance he had. I know he had the great performance against Fresno, but he was over 100 yards in pretty much all the other games that he played significant reps in.
Throughout the season, we talked a lot about your personal transition to Wyoming this year. Are you still adjusting to life in Laramie? How's it been living and working in this state?
Well, you know what? Coming from a state like Nebraska and then the 11 years in North Dakota, it's made the transition very smooth. We've appreciated the high school coaches in our state, gotten to know people in our community. I think it's important to get intertwined in the community as much as you can. As a head football coach, that's difficult. But both my wife and I and stepson, we've really enjoyed Laramie and, moreover, the state of Wyoming.
Talking with Craig Bohl, he's the head coach of the Wyoming Cowboy football team. Coach, I don't know if there was another team in the conference that got hit with the injury bug like Wyoming did this year. What was it like trying to battle through all the injuries and keep guys motivated that maybe hadn't started before or had to change positions?
Well, that's a real challenge, but one benefit of coaching a lot of years is you go through these years. But I can say this, I've never been through a year where we've had, you'll have an ACL tear, this and that, but 2 appendectomies, and we just had a player have a stroke. And so, certainly outside the box of what would be normal, but it's also been my experience typically when you have a year that's riddled with so many injuries that in the future, you have a couple years where there's hardly any. So we worked through it. The silver lining was it gave an opportunity for a lot of young players to play some meaningful reps.
You mentioned Xavier Lewis right there with the stroke. Certainly our thoughts and our prayers have been with him. Have you heard anything from Xavier?
Well, I certainly have, but I want to respect the family's wishes.
Sure.
With as many people that has been down to Denver and to see him, the family's asked that they just have one voice, and that's going to come out of the hospital down there. It's certainly been heartwarming for the times that I've seen him on several occasions, and so I'll reserve any comment and place that in the family's stead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got a long ways to wait, but it is our job in the media to kind of speculate about next year. You'll have a vacancy at quarterback with Colby graduating. Is there an early front runner, or is that an open competition at least through spring?
Well, it will be open competition. We went ahead and signed an experienced player named Cameron Kaufman, whose sister actually had played volleyball here, and Cam is from Kansas City, but started several games at the University of Indiana. His experience will be helpful. We have some other guys that are in the fold. Austin Ford, who hails from Gillette, certainly is there. Nick Smith, and so it'll be important for us to move forward at that position. When you're good at quarterback, you have a chance to be pretty good, and we appreciate everything Colby's done. I do think we'll have improvement at that position.
Probably the spot you're most deep going into the season, at least on paper right now, and you mentioned it as running back. Is that a blessing or a frustrating kind of factor to have so many capable guys at that position?
Well, it's a blessing because we've made the decision to move DJ May over to defense. He's, going to give us a great injection of talent. Now, he's going to be recovering from an ACL tear, but his demeanor, his ability, his striking ability will be well served over on defense. And so going in with initially a 1-2 punch, I thought Sean finished off the year great in his last ball game. He was chomping at the bit, and Brian played well, and we'll find some capable backups behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll open up against North Dakota and Eastern Michigan at home. You go to Washington State and Appalachian State as far as the non-conference schedule is concerned next year. Do you like those non-conference matchups?
Well, we certainly do. Competition brings out the best in anybody, but certainly when you schedule Oregon and Michigan State in the same year, and Oregon is currently rated 2, I don't know. I think I had rated Michigan State as high as 7th. I know they're still in the top 10. That's pretty heavy load in 1 year's time, and so we're excited about this grouping that we play, and we'll get ready to strap it on. The season will be here before we know it.
Yeah, well, my final question for you, Coach. I covered every home game this season. At times, I thought the atmosphere at War Memorial was fantastic. Other times, I thought it was a little bit dismal. Obviously, TV and weather and a bunch of factors come into the equation. How did you feel about the Wyoming atmosphere, and what can we do to make it better in 2015?
Well, one thing I've always found is, there needs to be an atmosphere where people want to come back. And that's a big portion of our responsibility. I think you're correct. Whenever you play a night game on an unusual night like a Friday night, or you're scheduling a kickoff that's going to start at 8:15, it does make a difference. It's been good for me is traveling around the state. When somebody comes to a game from Cody or Warland, it's not a decision to come to a game; it's a commitment. And when we stagger those times at that time, I certainly have to understand that, and we have to understand that. But there's parts that we can do as a football team to continue to improve. I thought that at the beginning of the year with the Montana and Air Force, those are 2 great crowds where the crowd really made a difference. And, it backed off as the year went along, but we're encouraged. I want to encourage our fans, and you'll never hear me say, by God, you fans, you've got a responsibility to come out and support the Cowboys. Those are things there's got to be a want to, and a big portion that I have a responsibility of is taking care of what goes on in between the lines, and that's going to be my job.
Absolutely. Coach, really appreciate the time. Any plans for the holidays with you and your family?
Well, you know what? My parents both are getting a little bit older and got some health issues, and so this is going to be a little bit of a unique experience for myself and the coaches that have joined us from North Dakota, because we were typically either practicing on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and we were always involved in playoffs the last 4 years. So this will be a well-deserved rest, but we hope it's the only time we're in this situation for a long time coming.
Yep, absolutely. We'll echo that exactly. Coach, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your family. We're glad you're here in Laramie with us, and can't wait for 2015.
Okay, always glad to be on. Bye, guys.